Someone once handed me a feedback form after a talk, and I remember looking at it and feeling that familiar pull, the urge to rip it in half and move on. Because here's the thing most speakers won't admit: we say we want feedback. What we actually want is confirmation, validation, approval. Those are very different things. In this episode, I want to talk about why most feedback fails and why most of us fail at using it. Not because we're fragile, but because nobody ever showed us how. By the end of this episode, you'll have a cleaner way to seek it. By the end of this episode, you'll have a cleaner way to seek feedback, filter it, and actually use it to grow. And be sure to stick around to the end where I'll tell you how you can get my free fast guide to feedback framework. Try saying that 3 times fast in a row. Let's get into it. Welcome to Professional Speaking, the show for speakers who are serious about becoming known, booked, and paid. My name's John Ball, professional speaker, speaker coach, and stand-up comedian, and I'm here as your guide on this journey to speaker success. Now, the problem isn't feedback. The problem is that most environments aren't designed to give you honest feedback. They're designed to make you feel safe, which sounds kind, but safe feedback doesn't move you forward. Think about the typical post-talk debrief. Someone says, "I really enjoyed it. Maybe just slow down a little." And you nod and nothing changes. Or you get feedback from people who you care about. Friends, colleagues, people who want to support you. And because they care, they soften it. They round off the rough edges. They leave out the part that would probably help the most. And the result is you stay exactly where you are, just with more encouragement. There's also something happening in your brain that makes this worse. When someone critiques your speaking, it doesn't register as a critique of skill or performance. It feels like a critique of you. Your intelligence, your credibility, your right to be in the room, on the stage. And that's where the defensiveness often kicks in. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. But if you only accept feedback that feels good, you'll never hear what actually makes you better. Now, I want to share 2 moments with you that shaped how I think about this. I knew a trainer, in fact, I still do know him, very experienced, well regarded, who had a habit that I found fascinating. So after every session, he'd collect in the feedback forms. And before taking a look at them, he would get someone else to quietly remove any that looked negative. Anything that seemed critical would go straight to the bottom of the pile, or more often in the bin. Now, I understand the impulse completely. You've just given everything to a room full of people, and the last thing you want is to be told it wasn't enough. But here's the reality. You can protect your ego, or you can improve your performance, but you don't get both. The forms he threw away, they were probably the most valuable ones in the pile. And then there's stand-up comedy. If you want to understand feedback in its rawest form, do stand-up. There's no forms, no polite noise, no "you might want to consider this" comments. You say something and the room either laughs or it doesn't. Silence is brutal, but it's honest and it's immediate. I've been in that silence and it's uncomfortable in a way that's hard to describe. But it's also one of the clearest feedback mechanisms I've ever experienced. Because there's no ambiguity, no softening, just a direct read on whether what you did worked or not. And most speaking environments don't give you that, which means you have to build it yourself. This is where most people get it wrong, and it's the part nobody teaches. When feedback lands, your job isn't to feel good about it. Your job is to extract value from it. 3 questions I use are, is there any truth in this? Not, is it perfectly worded? Not, do I like how they said it? Just, is there something real here that I can work with? Is this about my goal or is this about their preference? Some feedback tells you something about your performance. Some feedback tells you something about the person giving it. Learn to tell the difference. Also, can I test this without overreacting? So before you rebuild your whole talk around one comment, one piece of feedback, try a small adjustment. See what happens. Let evidence guide you, not anxiety. You're not bad at handling feedback, you've just never been shown how to use it. I mentioned the stand up comedy feedback that you can get from being on stage, how immediate that is. That generally, whether a performance goes as well as you want or doesn't, you will come off that, if you're anything like me, and pull it all to pieces, analyzing everything. Where did you get the laughs that you expected to? Where did you get the laughs that you didn't expect to? Where did people not laugh where you thought they would? And those are the things that you want to pull apart. But it's important to know, even in those environments, that the exact same set could bomb in one place and completely kill in another. So it is important not just to take the feedback as being, all right, well, they didn't laugh at that, so nobody's going to laugh at that. It's not necessarily true. And then there's all other elements that you have to consider as well, like how well practiced was I? Had I actually rehearsed this enough? Was I fully committed? Was I really in the moment? These are all elements that you need feedback on to help you grow and develop on the stage. Friends particularly tend to soften feedback. Peers will filter it. Audiences don't explain it, which is why the most useful feedback usually comes from somebody who has no stake in making you feel good and every reason to help you feel better. And that's the loop that actually works. Perform, get real feedback, adjust, repeat. Not perform, receive applause, repeat the same mistakes with more confidence. The difference between speakers who plateau and speakers who keep developing isn't talent. It's whether they've built a system that tells them the truth. I was fortunate enough recently to have a coaching session on my latest comedy set with the amazing Judy Carter. Now, I'm not going to bring you the session. That was between me and Judy, and also is not super appropriate for the show. Needless to say, though, my set is probably 100 times better now than it would ever have been if I just carried on my own and tried to improve it based on audience feedback. That professional input and view on it from somebody who I respect in the industry, whose understanding of comedy I admire and want to apply, was invaluable. Now, one of the things I've come to believe is this: growth as a speaker isn't about finding the perfect talk and repeating it. It's about staying honest with yourself and about what's working and what isn't. Feedback, real feedback, is the mechanism that makes that possible. And that naturally leads to the next conversation. I'm joined next episode by my good friend Clinton Young, and what we get into is the next layer of this, because knowing how to use feedback is one thing, but actually acting on it when it's uncomfortable, when it challenges your instincts, when it asks you to change something that you thought was working, that takes something else entirely. We'll be talking about what courage actually looks like for a speaker. Not the dramatic version, the quiet, practical kind, the showing up differently when everything in you wants to play it safe. If any part of this episode resonated, then that one will definitely too. Also, don't leave without downloading the free fast feedback framework. The link is in the show notes, along with any other links to contact me or the show and any other resources as well. So until next time, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.